the years, and I've had the opportunity to learn a lot of good tips and encouragement to this. Yet I am still struggling with it at times, quite a lot. But the Lord always just keeps teaching me more, and I've been thinking of making a video about this for a long time, but it just hasn't been the right time, and now I feel like, now that this has surfaced again in my own life, I thought it will be the time. So, just a disclaimer, I'm just gonna share what I have learned, what has helped me to stay persistent and resilient. And this is not gonna be like an all-conclusive video where I'm having all the answers, but I hope that I can share something that might help you move forward in your own journey. Also, usually I am not talking too much about pops, which just means negative thinking patterns or lies and stuff like that. If you're a brain retrainer, you know what I mean. But in this video, I'm probably gonna be more relaxed with that and share a little bit more, if need to be, about my struggles. So this is not like a super happy video if you're a brain retrainer, but it will be an encouraging one, and I'm always aiming to keep my focus on the good and the, like, reframing every thought. Yeah, I just wanted to mention that because I have said in my channel description that these videos will be as DNR friendly as possible. But some of these videos are a little bit more relaxed ones with that, or more honest ones, because I feel like it's actually very helpful with this, to be honest. Also, I've been planning to do a little series because there is so much to this theme that I could share. There are many Bible verses that I could read. There are clips from the book Hints Feet on High Places that I'm going to read, one or two in this video. And this is just, all in all, such a big theme in the whole Bible, so there's so much to it, but I'm only gonna share what comes to mind now, what I feel like sharing in this video, and then I'm probably gonna make a video where I'm just reading Bible verses to this theme, and then I'm gonna make another video with tips, like practical tips, how to stay resilient. So, yeah, so this video will be focused more on attitude and reframing and encouragement for those who are needing perseverance and are maybe struggling with staying persistent and might be frustrated because So I'm gonna start with reading a clip from the book Hints Feet on High Places again, which is like a very, very helpful book, especially to this theme. I really recommend it. Okay, I'm going to read from Hints Feet on High Places now. Every now and again, however, there would be a rent in the veil of mist, and then, as though framed in an open window, would appear a dazzling whiteness. For a moment, one of the vanished peaks would gleam through the opening, as if to say, "Be of good courage, we are still here, even though you cannot see us." Then the mist would swirl together again, and the window in heaven would close. On one such occasion, the shepherd said to Much Afraid, "When you continue your journey, there may be much mist and cloud. Perhaps it may even seem as though everything you have seen here of the high places was just a dream, or the work of your own imagination. But you have seen reality, and the mist which seems to swallow it up is the illusion." Believe steadfastly in what you have seen, even if the way up to the high places appears to be obscured, and you are led to doubt whether you are following the right path. Remember the promise. Thine ears shall hear a word behind thee saying, "This is the way, walk ye in it." When you turn to the right hand, and when you turn to the left, always go forward along the path of obedience as far as you know it, until I intervene, even if it seems to be leading you where you fear I could never mean you to go. Remember, Much Afraid, what you have seen before the mist blotted it out. Never doubt that the high places are there, towering up above you. And be quite sure that whatever happens, I mean to bring you up there, exactly as I have promised. As he finished speaking, another rent appeared in the curtain of mist, and one of the peaks of the high places, framed in blue sky, shone down on them. Before the curtain closed again, Much Afraid stooped down and picked a few of the gentians growing near her feet as a reminder of what she had seen. For, said she to herself, these actually grew on the lower slopes of the high places, and are an earnest that though the peaks may again become invisible, they are there all the time. Okay, so in that clip, what I loved and what has been super helpful for me is the idea of the fog, especially with me having a lot of brain fog at times and my mind not functioning very clearly. When I start looking at my own situation, it can get very clouded at times. And I've noticed so many times exactly what places was just a dream and the work of my own imagination. Even like with God, that is actually quite often I feel like it was just the work of my own imagination. When I'm like stuck in my mind and my heart is not really open. When I'm looking at life and my situation and God through just my own logical, so-called logical thinking, that's where it gets foggy. But I love the thought of, that the mountains that you were seeing, the clarity that you were seeing before was not deception, but the mist is the illusion. And that's when it's time to walk by faith. Simply. And this is why it's so important to keep track of the encounters that I have had and the moments when I have seen the mountains clearly, the reality, God reality. And when I have seen that the Lord is with me very clearly and He's leading this. So those foggy moments are the moments when I have to put my faith in that those moments were really real. And it's so good to have like a recording, or I've written something down and revisit those testimonies. Yeah, this is an important tip that I thought I'd share later more in like another video. But just like Much Afraid did in that clip, that she took that stone of remembrance, just like in the Bible, in the book of Joshua, that those stones are a reminder of the Lord's faithfulness and what He did before, because we just tend to forget and start believing something else that we're seeing at the moment, or not seeing in this case.
Now, I have been for years in a situation where I've been healing from chronic stuff, and I have been in that situation where I felt like giving up and letting go of hope and being frustrated and all those nice feelings. I've been in those moments for like probably 1,000 times during the years. And every single time I've somehow found strength and new hope and resilience to keep going anyway. Yeah, in spite of all the emotions that are trying to scream something else, but realizing that I don't really have any other choice. This is what I've chosen, and I'm not gonna change it now. So I've been in those moments, and if I've been able to rise from this like 100 times or 1,000 times, then this time will be no different. And sometimes it feels like this is just ridiculous to keep going, or I should come up with another solution, but there really isn't anything. But yet I'm a living testimony that things have changed. I've realized that I'm on the other side of this challenge now. There are quite many things to overcome, but the biggest one that I started with years ago in this recovery journey is mostly overcome now. And it's funny that I don't even feel many times these incredible feelings of celebration about it and joy. Although I've been waiting for 1,000 years for it to happen. Which is just proof that it probably wasn't about the situation in the first place, but it was always about a mindset and a negative emotional state, not the situation that was going on mostly, and it was just triggered by the situation. Because then I've noticed that, okay, now this challenge is over, but I have another one, or now I have this emotional challenge, and then I'm feeling like this has been going on for 1,000 years, and why isn't this changing? And the whole time, I have all these other victories that I've just forgotten. So I've learned that emotions are super deceitful. They cannot be relied on. So whenever I come to this place where I'm feeling all these emotions about my situation, sometimes the shift comes by just realizing that, oh, this feeling is probably a lie anyway, and has nothing to do with reality. It's just blindness. And sometimes that helps me to overcome, have new hope.
You know, overthinking, doubt, and fear brings the mist and cloud, you know. And so the reframing the waiting period helps to get back hope and trust, which leads to clarity. So it's so good to focus back from focusing on getting the focus back to God and the solution from just your situations or your emotions. That's a very helpful thing. And at the end, it's the same struggle for everyone in some way, like whether a difficult circumstance or a normal life. We need to find our joy in God and contentment and peace. So even those who are having a wonderfully easy life can feel frustrated because they haven't found God and contentment in Him. Difficulties are many times a bigger blessing at the end than just having easy. So, because what we are really longing for is not easy life, but knowing God and finding Him. And that's what makes life easier, by the way, because we were created to be living in communion and union with Him. And He's just enough for us. So it's helpful not to constantly trying to fix and change your situation, but to start building something in the middle of it. Start dreaming. And when your hope and confidence was already explaining in that other clip, sometimes we are stuck because we believe we are stuck. So sometimes the thought in itself is the problem, not actually our circumstances or even our emotions, but just what we believe and focus on. It's so funny, sometimes the answer is so simple, although the situation feels like so difficult, you know. And many times my so-called rational thinking is the greatest problem, because I'm explaining myself away from hoping in God, and I'm having these stubborn thoughts about me having a problem, you know. So stop fighting against the problem and embrace the opportunity in faith. Start with something small to believe in. If it feels too big to believe for healing right now, for example, you can start by believing for God to give you a good attitude in the middle of whatever you're going through. And that's a very good start, by the way. You can start believing that you can find God right where you are. You can get to know Him here. You can be in awe of Him right here. I'm gonna give you a practical example. So sometimes I'm feeling stuck in my emotions usually, or in my mind, my thinking, and I start thinking that how am I still stuck here after all these years? Like, am I doing this right, or how could I fix this? And I'm just stuck in trying to fix and worrying about my situation and worrying about being stuck. Okay, then I start praying, and sometimes I might cry about it, cry up to God, and letting myself feel the negative emotion for a while, and then usually after that I start praying something like, okay God, but even in the midst of this I will still hope in you, because you said in your word. And then I start going through what He has said in His word to the situation. For example, that you are faithful and your loving kindness, your faithful love endures, and you have a good plan for me, and stuff like that. And then I start remembering what He has done in the past, which is, by the way, a lot at this point. And that's what usually lifts me up when I'm having this heart-to-heart encounter with the Lord, where I'm like really, wholeheartedly praying this. And then it's very helpful if it turns around for me to start being amazed by God, like, wow, God, you're so faithful, you're so patient with me, you're so kind. I get to delight in you even here in the midst of this mess. And it's so good to shift to awe and wonder of God, because that's what brings you faith and hope too, and rest and peace and intimacy with the Lord is just so helpful. Like, I love reading the Song of Solomon. It's just so good. Just focusing on the relationship with God receiving love and loving him back, and that kind of stuff. That's very good. And then at the end, when I'm like more peaceful or see more clear or whatever, I might ask that, okay, God, do you have any tips for me? Like, is there something I need to change in my life or so on? But usually, this is the most helpful thing, this prayer. Yeah, there's one tip for you, but I'm gonna make a different video about that. Practical tips. So what has helped me is the picture of being on a treasure hunt where God is the treasure, and a treasure hunt can be hard work sometimes, and it can be a long journey, or like digging for a treasure too. It can be a long journey, it can take a long time, and it can be hard, and it can be frustrating. But the thought of the treasure keeps you going, and to realize that at any moment, no matter how difficult, you can find a treasure is actually very exciting and makes it all worth it, especially when you know that the treasure is worth everything. And when we think of God being the treasure, we can find more of him at any moment. So we're like finding different kinds of treasures. We keep finding more and more. And at the end, there's like this greatest treasure waiting for us, which is, of course, being with him in heaven, and everything will be made new, and everything will be worth it. So that's like our greatest hope that we're going to have at the end. But now that we're in the meantime, we are still looking for a treasure in this life, and we can find it at any moment, and just the difficult moments make the treasure feel even more valuable to us and even more beautiful. So if you're, for example, having a really difficult day, you can sometimes find him more deeply than you ever could have found on an easy day. So that makes a difficult day worth it, because the price is bigger too. And you know, he is worth it. It just puts us in a very beautiful place. Our hearts start appreciating him more and see how worthy he is of all of it, of all the seeking. Just like Jesus is telling the parable of the man, or whoever it was, finding the pearl in the field or some kind of treasure, and then buying the whole field and selling everything he owns to just being able to get that pearl. That's what the kingdom of heaven is like as well. It's worth selling everything
truly so much encouragement in creation from the Father's heart. He creates beauty out of ashes. And He doesn't want us to live in worry about whether we are doing enough for Him or making enough progress or something, but He wants us to live in gratefulness and trust. And He's not the one causing the worry, but He's the one relieving it. So if you can come out of fixing and solving constantly and just let your heart come alive and be at rest, that's very good, and it will truly help you. You and Jesus, you're a team. You're in this together. So don't let the stuff that you're going through come in between you and Him. Even if you don't get it, even if you don't understand, He will not leave you. He will not let you go. He will catch you if your faith fails. Mine almost did, but He made a way for me to start believing again. It helps to stop staring at the whole story of your situation and just to be as if only now existed. As if this is the first time you're in this situation, and then see this moment as an opportunity. Don't let past failures define this moment. And the more you're in this, the more you'll win this. It's like a slogan I came up with. But like, the more you're in this difficulty, the more you will learn to overcome. So it's only a good thing actually to have repetition. It's an opportunity. If we only keep believing, that's the most important thing. But when we start looking at how long we have been in a rut and all that stuff, and we start getting discouraged by the past failures, that takes our power away. That takes our faith away. But the faith is what brings the victory. So that's why perspective is so important. Okay, I think I'm gonna split this video in 2 parts because it became so long. So I'm gonna stop here and continue in the next video more about identity and how God sees you in the middle of your struggles. And there is a song suggestion in the description box. Just there are so many good songs out there that can help you so much with the attitude, and this is just another. It's called Laid Down by Maher, I think. And I don't know how to pronounce that, but anyway, just a good song for what I have been talking about. And as always, I hope that if something was unclear that I said, or you didn't understand, that you would always ask in the comments. That is always helpful, because it's so easy to misunderstand things or hear something that I'm not saying. And I know that I do that constantly, so always make sure that you really understand what you heard before starting to react negatively in any way. These are only meant to be encouraging and empowering words.